Get in the know. Non-stop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com. Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company.
And it is Purple Access, Purple Daily, whatever you choose to call it. Happy New Year's Eve, New Year's week, as we get set to celebrate Jan 1, which means we're nearing the end of the football season. Phil off this week, but that does not mean our programming is. It's Judd, it's Declan, and as always, we alternate between Tyler Fortis of VikingsWire.com and Chip Scoggins, my good friend from the Star Tribune, sports columnist extraordinaire, award winner multiple times by now. Chip is decorated in this community, and he joins us every other week. Merry Christmas, Chip. Happy New Year. But you know what? Let's dispose of the niceties and let's get right to it. Because we did hit the pause on recording this until 1 o'clock today. Your thoughts on the fact that we are going back to Jaren Hall, who initially replaced Kirk Cousins because Nick Mullens wasn't available and Josh Dobbs was too new. But then Josh Dobbs had to replace Jaren Hall, who got hurt, and he was eventually benched for Nick Mullens. And now Mullens has been benched for Jaren Hall, and I'm out of breath. Your thoughts?
You sound like a guy who was explaining a soap opera. All these twisted turns, right? The plot lines. I don't think it's any real surprise because I don't think there's any way in good conscience that Kevin O'Connell could go back to Nick Mullens. That would be a how to lose your locker room 101 masterclass there. After watching the way he was so recklessly ran the offense with his turnovers, there's just – you couldn't go back to him. Not to say that Jaren Hall is going to be the answer, or that he's going to play great this week and they're going to go 2-0 and get in the playoffs. But I just think based on what we've seen, there is no way that O'Connell could have put Mullens back out there and walked back in the locker room and tell guys, we're giving you the best option here. This is who we're, it just wasn't going to work.
Dex, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm glad they're giving him the shot, Chipper, just because it's a rookie quarterback here. It's not Dobbs, it's not Nick Mullens, but I think what I'm curious on, and I'm curious your thoughts too, is so they treated Dobbs, especially towards the end there, like he was Kirk, right? They made him like a pocket passer, and then Nick Mullens kind of same thing, like, hey, we're gonna make you throw a bunch of deep balls, even if they look like ducks in the middle of the air. We're gonna try as hell bent to make sure that you still operate this offense kind of like we would with Kirk, even though you guys are lesser athletes and lesser talent level. Do you think something gets tailored differently, or are you gonna expect like a similar offense with Jaren Hall?
Yeah, I don't know because O'Connell talked about it when they had the bye week that they were going to curtail or tailor this more towards what Josh Dobbs does well, and maybe we saw him in shotgun more, but it wasn't to the degree that we thought it was going to be, with a lot of bootlegs and just different kind of moving the pocket and getting them out. So I don't know that he's inclined to really scrap his system for any quarterback. He's just trying to do this on the fly. We didn't see enough of Hall at Atlanta to know how much of that. I mean, it was, was it 2 drives? One of them looked good, but I don't know that we saw enough of them to think, okay, we know what to expect. I'm sure there's going to be a package of plays in there you would think that would cater to what he does well. But again, from what we saw with how he handled Dobbs, I don't know that there's a whole lot of rewriting of the system that you can do with 2 games left. So my gut tells me it's just going to be more of what we've seen.
I do apologize because I had no idea Nick Mullens was that bad. Like, I had no clue. He's got Chipper. He has no arm. We were told when Brad Johnson came back here with Tice, right, in 2005 to back up Dante. We were told, well, his arm is shot. And okay, Brad didn't have a great arm, but I watched him throw it. I'm like, well, I mean, he might not have a great arm for a National Football League quarterback, but I mean, he's got an arm. Nick Mullens had no arm. And for him to say the ball slipped on that Jefferson pass, I think it's because he was choking the life out of that ball, hoping to throw it as hard as possible. This is one of the worst arms I've seen. He's Brett Favre without the talent.
And it's, well, that's the thing. It's like, he's uber confident in a guy in an arm that does not have the zip on it that you would want. Not only was he reckless throwing the ball and just, how many times do we see him where he's falling down and just going to sling it, get rid of it? It's like, I know quarterbacks do it, but it's like, just take the sack and protect the ball. But he also, how many times was the ball delivered late because it was just kind of floating out there, like, come on, get there. Like there's just no zip on the pass. So I got to be honest with you. I hadn't studied Nick Mullens before he came here. I didn't have a clue like what kind of quarterback he was. You think because he's a veteran, he's been around however many years that there's something there, but we saw his stats. His stats said even before he became a starter, he was a turnover machine. That's what he was, right? I mean, he was almost
yes.
That was kind of his thing. So we shouldn't be surprised there, but just the decision making was alarming to me. Even you go back to Cincinnati, the 2 touchdowns he did throw to Addison, one was at his feet that Addison makes a brilliant play on to pick it up, and the other one, I think everybody in the world was screaming, throw it away, and he's scrambling to the sideline. He throws it back. I don't say you got lucky, but you got fortunate to complete that one. So he didn't have. When you hear veteran, I was thinking manage the game, make good decisions,
right.
Don't put the ball in harm's way, and it was the complete opposite of that. I mean, he was just reckless with some of these throws. So that's why their playoff lives are hanging by a thread. You couldn't go back to the guy who's going to be that reckless. Again, Jaren Hall, he may be a turnover machine too once he gets an opportunity to play a lot. I don't know, but you had to try something, Judd. I mean, you could not go back to him.
Mm-hmm. And Chipper, I think with Hall getting the start here, and you're without T.J. Hockenson now for the rest of season 2, which is obviously a humongous blow. And 2 weeks ago, you saw Ty Chandler had this explosive game, 160 all-purpose yards, just kind of the back that this team has been needing forever. But then it felt like on Saturday against the Lions, right? They abandoned some of those plays. They just decided, hey, we're not going to give the ball to him anymore, which was very confusing. I feel like with the rookie in, no TJ, you're going to see, whether it's Chandler or Madison, you're probably going to see 25 touches between both those running backs?
Yeah, Dak, I would think so. And I heard Wes Phillips, I can't remember a radio part of his interview, and he was saying that when it doesn't work early, you don't want to be in 2nd and 10 all the time. And I understand that to a degree, but I don't think you can abandon it. As much as, you got Jefferson back. They did have Hockenson but they don't now. But I understand if you have those guys, you might be more inclined to give up on the running game a little sooner. But I just think with a rookie now and without Hockenson, I think you want to see what Chandler and Madison can do. And particularly the way Chandler ran the ball previously, I mean, you saw a spark there. So I agree with you, Dak. I think they will be more inclined. If it's not if it's not working in the first quarter, don't just scrap it and say we're not going to run the ball. We're going to be one-dimensional, because that's not going to set him up for success.
11 runs in one game. It made me want to do one thing: go to the fridge and get a Surly beer, because I could not imagine a world where an NFL coach is actually calling, as I said, he's calling an Arena League football game. But you know what? Before I die, it reminds me of the mantra, Chip Scoggins, the mantra of this show, the mantra of every Vikings fan, which is before we die, we would like to see a Vikings championship. And of course, that just starts off the great beer selection from Surly, including Chipper's favorite, absolutely, a Furious. In fact, the season's almost done. Here's my guess: you're going to sit down and have a few Furiouses, correct?
I don't even have to warm up. I go straight to Furious. I just
do that. I love it.
Both the mood and the beer, right?
Yep. Tall boys.
I would recommend going to your store, get the 4-pack of Tall Boys. That's where you guys start.
So good. And of course, if you're thinking to yourself, you know what, Chip, I'd like to go out and have some beers, perhaps a Furious. Let me recommend the Park Tavern, the official sports bar of the Sports Dad, St. Louis Park, right in my neck of the woods here, located right off of Louisiana Avenue South. In fact, if you're looking for a plant on Sunday, New Year's Eve, how about this? Park Tavern going to be open from 8 a.m. to 1 a.m. Now, don't spend the whole time there. That might be a bad idea. But they do have a Cosmic Bowling from 9:30 to close, $25 per person, a champagne toast at midnight. Again, Park Tavern, a great place to get a beer, watch the game, go bowling. So much that you can do, including group outings. Park Tavern, your headquarters, though, for New Year's Eve fun as well. St. Louis Park, check them out. So let's go back to the run game, Chipper and Dex, and also, and I want to ask you about this as well, because this has really bugged me. and it's an O'Connell thing. This is O'Connell's fault. It's not his team's fault. But have you ever, or how many teams, both Division I college and National Football League teams, have you covered where the screen game is as non-existent as the screen game is here? And I've always thought of the screen game as being an extension of the run game. Now, case in point, Kyle Shanahan and the Niners took some criticism for their game plan against Baltimore because they didn't run a ton, okay? But they did throw screen passes. So they incorporated what is, a version of the run. How surprised have you been that Kevin O'Connell really seems in his 2 years here to have punted on the screen? And as Dex has said 1,000 times, when they do try it, it's abysmal. I've never seen a screen game this bad.
Yeah, and I just don't know if that's, a philosophical thing. Coaches are good at some stuff and, not as good as other. But you look at the I particularly think about Chandler. If you could get him out and use him in that. I think about too, like what you're asking your wide receivers to block out there. I remember, was it what game was it where Addison whiffed and almost got Jefferson killed? Was that Carolina? Mm-hmm. Who was that?
Carolina early.
They got Jeff. Yeah, they got Jeff. It was before Jefferson went out, right? Yep. He whiffed on it. So I'm sure there's a lot of factors into that, Judd. But when you see the thing that really drives it home, though, when you see other teams that do it well and execute it well, and how much of a weapon that play, because it doesn't seem like, and I'm sure it's a lot more complicated than I make it out to be, right? But it doesn't seem like it's that complicated to drop and execute. I know it is, so don't email me like this. It's a lot, making it sound simple. But the teams that do it well make it look easy and make it look and really punish teams for, either blitzing them or catching them, in a certain defensive look. So I don't know why they're not good at it. I don't know why it's not a bigger part of their offense. Maybe that's a good thing to ask O'Connell, more in the offseason. They're just like philosophically, like why can't this be a bigger part of your offense?
Chipper, what have you made on the defensive side of the ball with Flores? Doing a really good job, it seems like, in the first three quarters, and obviously the last quarter, it's almost been like a stain on a little bit of his resume, which, by the way, I still think he's done a very good job turning this thing around.
Yeah.
But why do you think that this defense, or what is Flores doing that makes them so susceptible to these big plays and these long, sustained drives, and when you need a big stop in the most important part of the game?
That's the thing that's been really weird is, what do they have 3 in a row of their losses where you would say the defense is playing brilliant for the most part, and then they give up that back-breaking one they can't finish, and so it's like it makes it hard because they played so well and and they made such improvement. You jump up statistically, eyeball, optics, everything. You look at it, how much better they are. But at that moment of truth, whether it's, they've gotten loose on the back end, they haven't blitzed as much, they haven't made the plays, they've been in position, haven't made the plays. I go back to Cincinnati, T. Martin just physically better, or T. Higgins just physically, T. Martin, he is great. He won a national title for us.
I knew you'd get the balls into the show somehow.
That's right.
And Peyton Manning, he was good too.
He was great too. He was just physically better than their corners, right? T. Higgins was. So I do think as great as he has been for this defense and scheme, I think we've also seen times where personnel-wise, man, they're going to have to address defensive line, and they've got to get cornerbacks.
Yeah, that's a.
I mean, that's it's. We'll talk about the quarterback situation, what you do in the first round, but man, defense, either line or cornerback, has to be a priority this offseason.
And you just hit on, I think, coming off the Detroit loss, a really interesting topic. So Byron Murphy Jr. has not graded out consistently good, right? PFF does not love him, and he's certainly not a PFF darling. But his absence on Sunday was noticeable, and they really exposed those guys. I mean, when a Caleb Evans is benched, he is having a terrible game, and that's a big step back. But for all that Murphy doesn't grade out great, I think he does a ton of things because he plays inside, he plays outside, right?
Yeah.
Well, now he's gone. Now Blackman's hurt, and I'm with you. I think two things have taken place, but I think one is because every time you play a game, you put things on tape, right? And like these coaches don't go home. Like they're not like I'll figure this out next year. They tell their wives and kids, I'm not coming home. I'm going to watch
Merry
tape
Christmas.
all night.
Here's
Merry
your
Christmas. Yeah, exactly right. Aren't you coming home? No, I'm not. But what they're doing is they are looking at what Flores is doing. And yes, he's come up with creative concepts and he's been fantastic. But the reality is with the personnel that they have, there's only so much that can be done. And I think Chipper, I think one thing is there has been a real commitment to exposing those corners. And while they're not terrible, they're vulnerable.
Yeah,
so I think you nailed it.
Yeah, and I don't know what Murphy's grade is PFF, but he's their best corner, right?
He's their veteran. I think he's an anchor type of guy, right? Like he's the rock sort of.
Blackman's done some nice things. I got to imagine he's going to, Evans had a really, really, really tough day against Detroit. Andrew Booth. I mean, these are guys that, I don't know that you're your starter saying, okay, we're good here for the next 5 years. They don't have that back there. They don't have that. And so you're going to be drafting high there. And this is where the money situation comes into play too, Judd, is take Danielle Hunter off that line.
Yeah, great point.
I mean, take him off that line. Davenport, you're not bringing him back. He hasn't played. And so where's your rush edge at? Where's your edge rusher at if you're not going to re-sign Danielle? And so now all of a sudden, and, I still think interior defensive line. And so, man, if you start there's nothing more important than quarterback. And that's the most important decision hanging over this organization. But this defense has some big holes, particularly if you're not going to re-sign Danielle. And I just don't know if they feel like they're going to have the money to do it if you're bringing Cousins back. If you're not bringing Cousins back, then the answer is obvious. But
right
after watching these quarterbacks, how are you going to not make every attempt to bring Cousins back?
Yeah.
Yeah, and even with Russell Wilson potentially being maybe cut here by the end of the year in Denver, which Denver's gonna have to own what, like $78 million over the next 2 seasons, just absolutely
by
unheard
George
of
Payton.
money.
Yeah,
by George.
Yeah, nice decision to give that contract before you had thrown a pass.
Oh my God,
I don't. I saw. I know there's that scuttlebutt right now, and they're just throwing teams out who'd be the most likely landing spot. I don't see it. I mean, I just don't see it. He's 35 now, right? He's basically the same age as Cousins is. I know his touchdowns to interceptions have been a lot better this year than they were last year when it was a total disaster. And I don't know if this is Sean Payton or if this is a indication of Sean Payton or Russell Wilson, but they became a dink and dunk. He's become a dink and dunk quarterback. I was looking at his stats this morning, and 20-yard completions this year, the fewest in his career. Remember, he used to be those rainbow deep balls, and they were just beautiful. That's not who he is anymore. It's just dink and dunk. So, I mean, he's clearly not the same quarterback. I don't know what kind of payday he's going to be looking for or will be able to command if he's cut. But I mean, to me, it's either Cousins or you're starting over with a rookie.
Odds on Russell Wilson roster 2024 week 1 from sportsbetting8.ag. Okay. They have the Vikings at 5-1. That is tops of all teams to acquire or have Russell Wilson on their week 1 roster. Patriots are 6-1. Commanders and Raiders are 7-1. The Bears, Falcons, Giants, and Steelers 8-1. Chip, I'm with you. Kevin O'Connell's going to have no interest. I mean, he clearly wants a quarterback who can throw the football, right? Yeah. And if Russell Wilson is at a point now where, his arm is shot or his arm is not great. And I mean, he does not look like the same guy. There's no question about it. I think this team is going to make an all-out effort to either retain Kirk Cousins or draft a guy. I don't see any way. And Russell, I mean, I'm sure he'll play in 2024, but is he going to be cheap? Like, he'll still be getting paid by the Broncos, but is he going to be like? There's a lot of things here. I would pursue Russell Wilson, thinking that if you do, it's a lot like Donovan McNabb when he came here in 2011. Yeah. It's just the end of the road.
Yeah, and I don't see it. It doesn't make sense to me, other than Cousins, they don't have a quarterback under contract next year, that a starter, but other than that, it just doesn't make sense. But I'm more and more leaning this way, Judd. What if the Vikings take the Packers route and try to re-sign Cousins and draft a guy in the first round? I think there's a lot of merit to that.
What do you think Cousins will sign for? That's my question. I keep saying that to Phil. If Cousins will sign I keep seeing tweets now. Well, if Kirk will take a team-friendly deal. Well, yeah, I take him back too. But I mean, this guy is a master negotiator. And even with the Achilles, Broncos, I think, you know what? This might sound nuts. Don't shut the door on San Francisco.
Yeah.
I mean, depends on what happens to them, but don't shut the door on them.
It does, yeah.
He's going to have some leverage here.
Yeah, it is, and he's coming back, and he's going to work hard, and I don't doubt there's anything that he's going to come back fine. He's at $35 million now, and here's the thing, Judd, and you know as well as anyone, there is pressure on players, not just quarterbacks, but players from the union. You don't want to take discounts because you're setting the bar for the next guy. I mean, there's an inherent pressure. It's not like they're forcing you, but you're helping the guy behind you you're setting the bar, right? You're constantly setting the bar for the people coming behind you. So I don't, we say team friendly. Well, what does team friendly mean? What is that number? If he's at 35 million, I was looking at the contracts yesterday at quarterbacks. Daniel Jones, 40 million.
Right.
Some guys that are worse quarterbacks than him are making $40 million. Well, he's not going to make substantially less than somebody who's a lot worse than him. And so, but here's the thing. So he's 35, going to turn 36 in August, correct?
Correct.
Would he take 2 years over 3? Is he adamant about a 3-year deal? Or would he take 2 years? If it's 2 years, I would definitely try to do it. 3 years, I just, that would be pushing it up close to 40 years old. I don't know. I think if you can land on 2 years, maybe he will look around and say, you know what? I don't want to go somewhere else. I got Jefferson here. I got a coach who loves me. I got a system I know.
Right.
I might want 3 years, but I would settle for 2, and that would get me to 38 years old and right off into the sunset. But at what number? Is it 35 a year again? Is that the starting point? Do you go higher than that?
And here's your ultimate conundrum. Jefferson is going to get paid. Justin Jefferson's not going to set foot in training camp. He is not going to. I keep saying this, but he is this whole fear of, he's going to wait this thing out and leave. He is never going to hit free agency. He might force his way out this summer, but he is never going to set foot in training camp. Like he got hurt, and what happened to Hawkinson, right? So he is going to become, and I think he's going to ask to become the highest paid non-QB, which right now is Bosa of San Francisco, in the entire league. Then, to your point, Chipper, Daniil, what do you do there? Then in a year from now, Christian Darrisaw. So this is the thing. No matter what you do, you're going to have to make choices here. And if you go Cousins, Jefferson, I'm guessing Hunter's gone.
Yeah, if you are able to bring Cousins back, let's say it's 30 plus a year, JJ is going to be 30 plus a year. Because even if you look at the highest paid, I think wide receiver salary is 30, right?
It's Tyreek, right?
Tyreek, I think it's 30 a year. So that's a starting point. So it's going to be more than that. Can you have two guys over 30, and what's Daniil going to get?
Right.
So they're going to have to make hard choices, but I know they're probably not with the pieces they have with Jefferson, Hawkinson, Addison. It might not be the most ideal thing to start a rookie quarterback, draft a guy and start him. So I would, if they did the Packers plan, I think that it could work. It makes sense to me for a lot of reasons. But you also have to figure out a way to improve your personnel on defense in the secondary. And if it's not Hunter, who is it? Because who is it? Who's it going to be if you don't have you need to have some premier guys rushing the passer.
Yeah, it feels like edge, right, is like their next biggest position here, especially if Daniil walks away. Wanham just is injured. Marcus Davenport, who knows? I don't know where the hell he has been since he has signed the contract, except for maybe a dozen plays this season. So, I mean, the most important position on defense right now, obviously, is defensive edge and figuring out ways to rush the quarterback. And Chipper, they don't really have anyone under contract for next season.
No, we like what Wanham's done. I think he'll be a player. He'll a guy that, when he's healthy, you put him in, but can't just be DJ Wanham. I mean, like that's not what you're going to have to commit resources there too. And guys, I mean, again, cornerback. I think you're either going to have to draft or pay money to sign one on the open market.
If you bring Kirk back, I think the reality is you have to draft a defensive tackle, an edge, or a corner first round. I don't think that you can take a quarterback like the luxury of keeping Kirk for 2 years and paying him well, obviously, and then drafting a quarterback. Like, to your point, your personnel on defense is toast. So like that's the thing, is that this is going to be one of the most interesting springs for this team that we've ever covered, Chip, because there are just so many questions, and they're not screwed. Like, they're not in terrible shape, but there are going to be some decisions that have to be made, and none of them are going to thrill the fans or the team. But you cannot, unfortunately, in a salary cap league, you can't keep everybody.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, what, are you not going to pay Jefferson?
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's not even an option. So that's the one that's complicated. Is like, it's great. I mean, he's so good, and we saw it again against the Lions. Like, he almost, I don't say single-handedly won it, but he was willing that team to try to win that game and making the plays he was when everything else was breaking down around him. So, I mean, we know his value, but that comes, that's a cost that's going to affect the rest of the roster building.
Absolutely. Chipper, last thing, expectations for Jaren Hall on Sunday, and how much do you think Kevin O'Connell tries to help him play calling wise? Because that's definitely been, I think, an underlying issue for some of these guys not named Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I'll go back to Deck's point. I think we're going to see him make a real commitment to try to run the ball and try to get Chandler and Madison going and take some pressure off him. Maybe, get some stuff going with Jefferson to try to help him out there. And it was such a small sample size, Judd, at Atlanta. That's hard to say. We saw a lot there, so this is why I think. So I don't know. The Packers, they're a mess.
They really
are. The Gyre, like, that happens when a team's a mess, right? That circus show that was going on. So, but I do think they'll try to get the running game going, establish that to try to help him out. That would be my inclination.
The Packers are a mess with the exact same record as the Vikings. That's the incredible thing. And I don't understand, as Royce said, where did that come from? I have no clue. Yeah. Thank you, Chipper. Great stuff. Talk to you in a couple weeks, okay?
All right, boys. See you.
All right. Chip Scoggins, Star Tribune. Great stuff, as always. Before we go, Declan Goff, tell me about your favorite joint in Minneapolis.
Oh. 3-Jack. Love me some 3-Jack. Okay, actually, I got a putting mat here for Christmas. The mother-in-law Jug got me a nice little putting mat. It's in the living room, much to my fiance's chagrin. However, I don't have a simulator here. Okay, I can't take swings in. And Vinny, who knows what could happen if he sees a golf ball going somewhere? That'd be a dangerous area, right?
No, don't want
Can't do that. Can't do that. So I'll go to 3Jack. Okay, I'll book a simulator bay there. Got some great food options as well. You can go to 3jack.com to book that simulator bay as well. And mention Purple Daily. They'll give you a free pint, just so you see in the YouTube video there, right? Nice tall beer. You mentioned Purple Daily, they'll give you a free one with any menu purchase item. Go check out 3Jack in the North Loop.
And while Declan's having fun, because he's young, He's in a new place. You know what? Sports Dad might have an electrical issue.
Yeah.
And as everybody knows, Sports Dad is not competent enough to fix anything in his house, and nobody should try and repair electronical issues in their house. And so that's why you call that van, you call that company, you call my friend Cody Finch and his buddies from Finch Home Solutions, who are passionate about the Vikings and passionate about making sure that your home is safe. I'm talking about big projects. I'm talking about small ones. Rewiring your entire house. Let's say you're redoing your kitchen. Guess what? If you're going to redo your kitchen or a room, there's going to be electrical issues, right? Cody Finch and his team can take care of that. Just give them a call. 612-357-2604, 612-357-2604. And now you're saying, but Sports Dad, come on, it's 2024 almost. I don't want to call. I want to go to a website. Well, you know what? Finch Home Solutions redesigned website, easy to navigate, basically gives you a play-by-play of everything that they do. FinchHomeSolutions.com, FinchHomeSolutions.com, and of course, tell them that the guys from PD sent you. Dex?
Hit the subscribe button, Daily Vikes Entertainment. There's a Purple Daily on draft also in this feed. You can go check out. Judd and I will be live, I believe, for a Feedback Friday tomorrow. Feedback Friday?
Yeah, I'm on.
Good with that? A little Feedback Friday, a little live
off,
edition.
Not us. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we'll still hit you with the Feedback Friday tomorrow on Purple Daily. So hit the subscribe button, Daily Vikings Entertainment. We appreciate you guys, and thanks for listening and watching.